Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Grüns is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Grüns.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Well, now you get to relax, right? Trading deadline's over. You're gonna sleep 12 hours a day. You're gonna get off social media. No more Twitter. You get a break.
I said that to the Pioneer Press writer this morning. I said I always hate the minute after the trade deadline because then there's like nothing else to do the rest of the way for a beat writer. Although you still make your round of calls every day.
I was kind of teasing.
Yeah, but yeah, no, hey. That's the fun part of the job, but it's weird. You just suddenly are able to relax. You do at some point here put your attention toward college free agency and things like that. But now it's essentially just covering the team the rest of the way. And there's not much the GM could do either, other than, a couple call-ups and things like that.
He's Michael Russo. This is the Russo-Souhan Show. I'm Jim Souhan of the Star Tribune. Michael, of course, works for The Athletic, theathletic.com. This is our hockey show on the Minnesota Sports Podcast Network. Find all the shows at mnspn.com. I recommend subscribing at iTunes or your favorite podcast app. You can also follow us on social media to click there. Thanks to our current sponsors, Twill in the Edina Galleria, that's Scott Dayton's clothing store, Fixology Repair, 3rd floor of Mall of America, and downtown Minneapolis in the Skyway, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, and Todd Moritz of Sandvold Financial Group. Let's start with the trading deadline, Michael. The Wild didn't do much. I thought that was both logical and maybe necessary given their recent moves.
Yeah, I just think that this was the year to sit it out. I mean, you saw it around the league. I mean, this was an awful trade deadline. The sellers were scrambling last second. Evander Kane, Buffalo said on the record that they got one legitimate offer for him, and it's because nobody wanted him. I mean, they got the price essentially for it to become a first-round pick. San Jose has to either re-sign him, which I would think he's a rental, unless he's unbelievable down the stretch here, or they got to win the cup. So otherwise, it's a second-round pick, which is the price that Wild have given them in the past for guys like Chris Stewart and Matt Molson. Then you have Detroit completely unable to move Mike Green. You have Thomas Vanek, who was given away. I mean, 2 minor leaguers that are nothing. You have Edmonton, who had to trade Patrick Maroon at the last second for nothing, a prospect that's not very good. So this was not the year to go for rentals, in my opinion. They weren't even Rick Nash. We saw him here a couple weeks ago. He's not the same player he used to be. Right. I mean, his first assist on the Parisi goal was pretty horrific. So there are and all the rentals seem to go to the East. So, you saw Dallas do nothing. You saw St. Louis give Stasny away, got a lot of him back, but then weren't able to make a hockey trade at the last second. So they did nothing. Nashville, amazingly, paid a first-round pick for Ryan Hartman. That was an interesting move. So there were guys that were going that were quote unquote hockey trades that were not your typical rentals because it just was not anything that really was appealing out there. And so I had no problem with the Wild not overpaying this time around. I look at what they did in getting rid of Mike Riley. I know a lot of Wild fans were upset at the value. I mean, I don't know if they thought they were getting a prospect back or a first round, second round pick when we were writing about him for weeks, but he was either going to have to be a throw-in on a deal or they were just going to have to give him away. I mean, there's no value for Mike Riley right now. I mean, could you have maybe gotten a fourth? Maybe. But, I mean, they waited as long as they could up until the deadline. They had a couple offers, and this was the best chance that they had to get rid of him.
It's really interesting that the Wild, for so many months, we were saying, okay, they're playing well, but making no progress. Playing well, making no progress. All of a sudden, they've broken through, and you look around and you go, maybe the West wasn't this juggernaut that it seemed to be. Now there's some real weakness in the conference, isn't there?
Well, I mean, there's not really. I mean, there's a lot of gridlock there. I definitely feel like there are three elites in the league, and they are the top three teams in the conference right now: Nashville, Winnipeg, and Vegas, and everybody else is probably about the same. It is interesting what's going on in the Pacific now. They're suddenly, putting themselves in a position where they could potentially have five, the way that Dallas and St. Louis have suddenly fallen down here, and Colorado, they had a big win last night, but against a lousy team. But Colorado, has fallen down here lately. So, where I will say is what I'm
maybe I should have said the division, not the conference.
The division. There's definitely, you're right. I mean, all of a sudden, Dallas doesn't look as formidable.
St. Louis is falling apart.
I mean, like in Dallas, I watched Dallas play the other night in Colorado, I think it was. I mean, oh my God, is Jamie Benn an awful hockey player now?
What happened?
I don't know. I mean, he's just terrible. It's unbelievable. An awful playing hockey player right now. It's unbelievable watching him. It's like he's just going through the motions on the ice. And he's had a poor year. So they look, St. Louis is going to be pretty snarly tonight. I mean, they're coming off back-to-back shutouts. Kyle Brodziak said we don't even know what we're supposed to do on the ice, which Mike Yeo took exception to. They traded Paul Stastny yesterday and got nothing back in return. And they're out of the playoff right now. So tonight's either going to go one of two ways. Either the Wild's going to have a major problem or they're going to easily just beat the crap out of them. They're getting awful goaltending right now, too. And then Colorado went on a stretch without McKinnon, where they were treading water. They went on an unbelievable road swing, something like 12 out of 15 on the road. Now suddenly you have some home games up. Big game against Minnesota on Friday. For Colorado. But you're right. I mean, it now does look like the Wild have put themselves in a position where they're staring at Nashville or Winnipeg, which good luck to you. This is why I've said all along. Like somebody said to me on Twitter a week or two ago, like, this is great. Like now they can continue to climb. And I'm like, yeah, be careful what you wish for. Like they're about to face Winnipeg or Nashville. Where like, again, I'm sorry. I know that Vegas is Vegas and they just got much better with Tatar, but I would much rather go through the Pacific if I'm Minnesota than have to fly up to Winnipeg and open there. That team is as deep as any team as I've seen in the league for a long, long time. They're getting the goaltending this year. Their blue line's very good, and they are up front. They're now, Adam Lowry's on their fourth line now. Patrick Laine is on their third line with Paul Stastny. That team is great. So good luck if they wind up playing Winnipeg.
Let's welcome and thank Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com, Twill on Instagram. Check out their shop. I go by there all the time. Again, Edina Galleria right there, down there on France, not far from the Guitar Center that I happen to pop by when I'm down in that area. Good restaurants in that mall as well.
Hi, I'm Stacy Souhan. I love Twill, Scott Dayton's shop in the Edina Galleria. Twill takes the stress out of shopping by offering updated traditional fashion. I know that if Jim goes in there shopping alone, I will like what he buys, whether it's pajamas, flannel shirts, or suits. I plan to recommend Twill to my daughter when she has to buy wedding party gifts and attire. Twill in the Edina Galleria will bring your fashion game to a championship level.
How do you think Mr. Yeo is doing? And by the way, we're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, and we'll talk a little Blues, but most of the topics we deal with will be kind of more evergreen topics. But let's talk about the Blues briefly. How's Mike Yeo doing right now?
Believe it or not, I didn't go down there today. I texted with him yesterday. I texted him asking him if they were practicing, and he wrote me back. He goes, "Oh, Michael, I know you so well. You're just trying to open up the lines of communication for scoops." And I'm like, all right, you're right. I knew you weren't practicing, so tell me what's going on. So, but, as I talked to a couple, I was down at the arena this morning, but I didn't go down to talk to Yeo because I needed to get out of there to go do a podcast. And
at least your priorities are finally in the right place.
But I just, I didn't go down there because I didn't even want to bother him. Yeah. I mean, I talked to the other reporters that talked to him, and it's the same thing that we saw here with Mike Yeo. He's like, the reporters like he'd never even even know that they're in this swoon right now because he at least outwardly handles it so well. And that was what I was always impressed with him here. But they are in a big-time issue. It's all because of goaltending right now. It's ironic that this is happening because last year, remember, Jake Allen was the worst goaltender in the NHL until January 30th when Ken Hitchcock was fired. Mike Yeo takes over, and he became the best goalie in the NHL statistically the rest of the way. Now, Jake Allen is reverted back to what he probably is. I mean, he has been awful. You can't win with the goaltending that he and Carter Hutton have provided this team. And the other night, it looked like a team that was completely dead in the water, and that's why Doug Armstrong just said, you know what, I'm going to get some assets for Paul Stastny. And man, did he get some assets from Winnipeg, who could afford it because they have a huge pipeline of prospects down there. And I give Doug Armstrong all the credit for making that trade and getting some unbelievable assets for Paul Stastny, a guy who's from St. Louis, and he could theoretically re-sign on July 1. So, that would make him even look more brilliant. Where I think that things got a little haywire yesterday is that around the league and definitely inside the Wild, they were all convinced that St. Louis was trying to make a big-time trade for a Mike Hoffman or a Max Pacioretty, and it just didn't happen. So something happened. I think the prices were too high. I think a lot of teams have been really scared off by Max Pacioretty because he has been so bad this year and so bad the last couple months and looking like really a schmuck sometimes when he talks to the media as how short and impatient he is with them. And that stuff becomes seen by other teams. And it's, I know the Wild had talked to him about Pacioretty, but I am not convinced that he would have been the right guy for this team. He's had a terrible year. Watching him a lot lately and talking to a lot of announcers that cover a lot of Montreal games, they're like, he is not only playing poorly, but he's got major warts in his game. Yes, he scored 30 goals 5 times or whatever it is, but he just, there's something going on there right now, and I think it'd be a big risk giving up big-time assets to get Matt Pacioretty right now, and I think that's what happened with St. Louis looking at that, and it definitely seemed like Ottawa was really looking for a huge-time price for Mike Hoffman, so I think that if there was something up their sleeve, which I think it makes sense that there was for St. Louis, it didn't come into fruition. And now suddenly you have a team that's struggling gigantically. If they lose to the Wild tonight, it would be 7 losses in a row for the first time since 2009. You were talking about a team that is big time up against it right now and just gave away a center.
We should give.
And I shouldn't say gave away because they got a huge return, but didn't add something to replace him. Now, they do also have a lot of minor leaguers that are awesome, so we'll see who comes up to replace Stastny. Maybe that's something else that Armstrong felt that he could approve. Something else that he could, sit there and put in the lineup and make that move.
The Wild has played well for quite a while now. To me, the easy to give credit to are Stahl, Boudreau, and the goaltending. Is there who else belongs on that list? Zucker's been really good. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, you look at this team, and there's been a lot of guys that are not having good years. Nino's been awful for a month. Coyle not having a good year. Koivu not having a good year. But guys like Granlund has been really bad for a month. Now all of a sudden did break out. So this team is being led by their goaltending. I know that's hard to believe, but it's true.
Yeah.
But Eric Stahl and Jason Zucker, Boudreau has done a very good job. They're getting contributions different night from different guys, so that's helping. And suddenly they are starting to play better. And I do think that a lot of credit needs to be given to guys like Ryan Suter, Matt Dumba, Jared Spurgeon. Jared went through a little blip for about a week and a half where he wasn't very good. But Suter, Dumba, and Spurgeon have been very consistent for this team. I mean, it's weird. There is just such perception out there that this team is kind of lousy, yet you look at them and they've got the second most points in the league since Christmas. You look at them and you're like, there's a lot of guys not playing great.
Yep.
Their third and fourth lines are not nearly as good as they've been in years past, yet they seem to win every night. Somebody asked me on Twitter the other night, how is this possible that every night they get outshot the way they do and they continue to win? And, that's why it's like, to me, it's like, man, I'm sorry. I'll give Devin Dubnyk a break for the bad goals every now and then. Because when it matters, he makes the big saves. The other night in the first period, the Wild should have been down 3-0. You can't forget that in the third period if he happens to give up a crappy goal. if they wind up winning the game. And the most important stat, I'll say it to the day I die, is not freaking high danger scoring, save percentage and things like that. The most important stat for a goaltender is victories. And he, since mid-November, is one of the best goalies in the league in that category. And that's what matters.
We got a little fire out of Michael there.
Well, I am so tired of the anytime Devin Dubnyk gives up a goal tweets I get. It's so freaking ridiculous. I mean, it's insane. I get that there's a lot of frustration with this fan base because of what he has done in the playoffs. I get that.
And that's legit.
But when we get to the playoffs, then tweet it to me. But I'm sorry, if he's winning every single night, which he almost always does. I mean, the other night when he lost his first regulation game since like January 25th, it was insane, the tweets I was getting. Insane. I'm sorry. It's just, it drives me crazy.
I have an analogy that I'll bring up.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, Wild fans are all up in arms that Chris Stewart, who has not played well for this team for 3 or 4 months, is gone. I mean, let's put into perspective. Are you not? I love Chris Stewart. Is that any clearer?
He's a fourth liner.
But have you not watched him play for the last 3.5, 4 months? The effort on the ice. He was a goner that game in Columbus earlier this month, or maybe right after the All-Star break, when he was put in the lineup after a string of healthy scratches, and he wasn't skating hard, and he was pulling up on checks and things like that. And that is Chris Stewart's MO.
Yep.
Like somebody said to me,
he's a big guy who plays like a small guy.
And look, I like Chris, but man, somebody said to me on Twitter, yes, if he had gotten the ice time that the Granlunds have gotten, he'd have 20 goals. Yeah, and you know what? The team would be in last place in the West.
No, that's
I mean, how many times do we have to watch him back check and then say he was the guy that didn't pick up the guy? I mean, Wild fans need, you're an intelligent fan base. Watch what's going on the ice here. I get that Chris is a great guy. I get that he's loved in that locker room. But somebody had to go, and again, as an intelligent fan base, it can't be Tyler Ennis or Marcus Foligno.
Right.
Okay? So it had to be Stewart. It had to be. They could have thrown Riley on waivers, but I think that that Chuck Fletcher realized that he wanted to get rid of both. Mm-hmm. And Riley had a chance of at least getting him something in return where Stewart did not.
Right. And
so what he did is he threw the one guy on waivers and he traded Riley. Value not very good, but hey, Kirill Kaprizov is a 5th-round pick. Maybe they hit diamond in the, whatever. Anyway.
We got Michael fired up, and luckily we got him fired up on stuff I actually agree with him on, which is a reward for me. Yeah. And not that I ever really disagree with you.
Yeah.
Thanks to Fixology Repair, John Hedges' shop. Again, we've done a show recently from his new place in the Skyway, just south of Wells Fargo Center, right across from Dunn Brothers, right by Taco John's. I walk by the place all the time. They are very helpful there. A nice, clean shop. A lot of cool stuff like Zippo lighters and phone screens and hand warmers, stuff like that. They have even more high-end stuff out at the Mall of America, 3rd floor, right across from Nordstrom's.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
John Hedges sent me a text message a couple of weeks ago because I said that on my podcast how in the St. Louis TSA at the airport they took my lighter. Mm-hmm. And how I thought it wasn't allowed on a plane. And then he sends me the screen capture of that it is, and I was pretty pissed.
Yeah, you should.
It's an expensive lighter. And a gift.
Oh.
And I had traveled with it for months. I even forgot it was in my thing. And then suddenly TSA finds it and they take it. And I'm like, I wasn't going to fight over it. It's not like I ever really use it. It's just once in a while when you smoke a cigar on the road type thing. But to then find out that this TSA agent doesn't know the rules, it's absurd.
I would be surprised if any of them knew the rules. I think they just kind of make it up as they go along.
Frankly, if you think about it, I think that it shouldn't be allowed on it.
Probably shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd light something on fire on the plane.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what shouldn't be allowed on planes? Human beings. They're dangerous.
Good one, Jim.
Not that good. Actually, not that good. All right, let's go to some. You know what? We haven't gotten a lot of Twitter questions.
You know what?
Let's do some Twitter questions.
My favorite line that somebody said to me the other day that made them laugh out loud was when we were talking about the Tuscany trip, and and I said, "Why don't you come?" And you said, "I don't like people."
It's only funny because it's true.
Yeah. By the way, I got to tell you, somebody that was listening to the podcast last week, I think a couple signed up for the Tuscany trip. So that really excites me. One that people are listening again to this podcast, because sometimes, as you could tell, I might regret things I say, like probably the last 20 minutes when I just trashed Wild fans.
I pretty much regret everything you say.
Yeah, but the fact that somebody was willing to come on our trip and hang out with Anthony and I just think it's awesome. So thank you.
How much you paying him?
No, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's an expensive trip, man. And I mean, again, when you do the math on it, like it's not like the person that's running this is not making a ton of money. It's going to Italy in the middle of summer. It's a very expensive plane flight. These villas and hotel rooms and stuff that we're staying at, a bus constantly, all the food, the excursions. I mean, this is an expensive trip. So just the fact that people are willing to commit to that. And we do have more room, but we did get 6 people in the last week. So we are full where we can, have the trip this summer. And so definedestinations.com if you want to come. But Jim, I wish you would come.
I would pay thousands of dollars to spend time with Anthony LaPanta, but I'd pay millions of dollars to not spend time with Anthony LaPanta.
But how about Margot?
Margot, I love.
Yeah.
I love Margot, but
it's impossible not to love Margot.
Unfortunately, it seems to be a package.
So I'm in the broadcast booth the other day, and Anthony is gone. Okay, who knows? They're like in my ear.
He's talking to somebody. He's talking to somebody in a loud voice.
In my ear, they're like 45 seconds. So I'm like, I said to Jim Pellegrin, the stage manager, I'm like, can you please just go find the guy?
Jim. Jim's a cool
But
guy.
all of a sudden he walks in, and then all of a sudden I hear Margot's voice suddenly saying, "You cut it out" or something. And I heard it a couple times, and I thought I could have sworn that Margot must be somewhere in the broadcast booth. But it turns out that Margot has taped her yelling at Anthony on a video that they now, whenever Anthony is acting up in the broadcast booth, they play it out loud to yell at Anthony. And Anthony, all of a sudden, he turns around and he goes, "I hear that 40 times a day at home. You think that's going to stop me from acting up in here?" And so, anyway.
You know what? Whoever Anthony's working
I think it's
with,
Hey Knock It Off.
Hey Knock It Off.
Yeah, Hey Knock It Off.
Whoever Anthony's doing the shows with now, I don't know, but I think Anthony and Margot would be the best possible play-by-play combination for Wild Games.
Yeah. You don't know that Mike Greenlight is doing the show?
Oh, yeah, it's Mike. That's right. Yeah. I know Mike doesn't listen to this, so I can rip him.
Yep, that's true.
Twitter questions.
By the way, hey, one real quick thing. So I went to the Hendrickson Foundation thing the other day, and all of a sudden, I
was talking to Darby about
it was
that
supposed
the
to be
other day.
Pat Micheletti versus Neil Broughton as coaches. Mm-hmm. Pat goes, "Hey, I have to leave in the first period to go up to call the St. Cloud game, so you're going to have to coach the last 2 periods."
What kind of Thomas Vanek stuff is that?
Yeah. So my team won. So I outcoached Neil Broughton.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a lot of good advice for these guys.
I would imagine.
I yelled at them when they were turning the puck over.
Did you talk to them?
I told them to get it deep.
Did you talk to them, or did you just tweet at them?
No. I was definitely tweeting like a maniac on the bench. I definitely told Matt Cook to go take out the knees of Mark Parrish, but he wouldn't do it.
See,
he looked at me and goes, I don't think in a charity game that's something that's appropriate. I'm
maybe
like,
maybe the first game of a playoff series.
Yeah.
That might be.
Hey, it won them that series.
It did win them that series. Absolutely.
So I think it was game 3, actually.
Was it
game
3?
3 or 4?
Was it really that far
Yeah.
in? I thought it was earlier in the series.
No, it was game
I
3
really
or
thought
4.
it was game 1.
Yeah, no, I turned the entire thing around. Might have been even 4, because then he got a 7-game suspension, and then the fact that they won game 7
you're right.
allowed him not to fulfill the rest of the suspension the following year. Because I remember how nervous he was in game 7 in Colorado, because he thought if they lost that game, he'd be suspended the first 4 games of the following season.
Okay, you're right. Your memory's better than mine. That's not shocking.
Yeah.
Like I said, let's get to some Twitter questions. We haven't gotten to a ton recently, and this is a good day to do that. We'll thank Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, Hoaglund. And we can attest to Tony as a guy and an insurance agent. Michael and I both have our insurance through Tony. And I've played golf with Tony. We'll have to get you out on the golf course with Tony
he's going to be
summer.
at the Wild at Arizona Coyote game this weekend.
Awesome.
Or this Thursday.
Yeah, we're definitely have to go out and play some golf with Tony this summer. I got to see your golf swing.
Right now, 1 in 3 drivers is cruising around in a state of skepticism about just how much value their car insurance company is delivering. If you are one of them, State Farm agent Tony Hoaglund in Champlin can help you get to a better state, because he'll talk with you, listen to you, and help you put together a policy that has you written all over it, from cost to coverage, all backed by 24/7 customer support. Feeling less skeptical? Then call State Farm agent Tony Hoaglund in Champlin and officially get to a better state with State Farm. And you can reach Tony at 763-421-4900.
What are you looking at me like that for?
You're not going to see my golf swing.
Why not?
Because I haven't played in years.
So it hasn't got any worse.
Yes. All right.
All right. If you can coach a winning hockey game, you can play a round of golf.
That's true.
We'll play best ball.
That's true.
From Eric Hromatka, a longtime listener. I've seen a lot of Homer quotes saying not enough return for Riley. Feels like teams knew the Wild were over a barrel, maybe didn't get full value for him. Thoughts on Riley passing waiver exemption leading to this?
Well, again, I got to the point where I figured that Riley would either be waived or traded. Mm-hmm. And I think that they figured that somebody would take him off waivers and at least try to get a pick for him. But they just wanted to give him a chance elsewhere. Look, Bruce had it with Mikey. He couldn't play him. I mean, he was being forced to play him down the stretch to showcase him, and then when that happened, that went haywire, and they had to take him out of the lineup again. I like Mikey as a guy. I think that he needs to start to realize the way the game needs to be played in this era. I mean, you need to be a better offensive player than he is to be the liability that he sometimes becomes. And in New Jersey, he played a really good game. I thought he created the goal, that Eriksson Ek goal that Winnick was unbelievable on, where he bowled his way to the net. And he obviously scored the big goal there to help get them back in the game that I think was a pretty crappy goal given up by Eddie Lack. But then they throw him in the next game, not very good against the Rangers, and then just terrible the other night against the Sharks. So I think that was the final straw. So full value for him, I mean, if he turns out to be a stud, maybe. But I think that this was what you were going to get from him at this time. And I think their biggest mistake that they made with Mikey Riley was over Christmas time, where they let him play. And once the waivers kicked in, then all of a sudden he became somebody that they didn't feel like they could put in the lineup again. And that's partially on Mikey, but definitely, if it were me, I would have sent him down before he hit that thing. But they weren't happy with Olsen at that time either. So that's the problem. I think that if you go back to last summer, I think Mikey's contract was just confusing. I just don't understand why they gave him a 2-year one-way. They gave him the exact same contract as Olofsson. And, most guys in that situation would have gotten a 2-way one-way. And I think that they felt like Mikey had been a good soldier for years. They'd, promised to put him on the team. Then all of a sudden he's in the minors for parts of 3 seasons. And they felt that, hey, we've kind of strung him along for a while. But this, he just wasn't becoming the player that they wanted. A lot of that I feel for Mike, because it's hard to become the player that they wanted because he wasn't playing every single night. And it's hard to just go in and out of the lineup. So, but I don't know. I just, this one that frankly, after watching Leddy play this season, I don't know if they threw that away either. I mean, Leddy hasn't been very good.
He hasn't been that good. No. That's a funny thing. Minnesotans want their players on the Wild, and then we see them on the Wild, we go, oh, that's why.
I was playing in a fantasy hockey playoff last week. I got destroyed by Phil Hughes, by the way, and John Sharkman. But game 1 Monday, it was like -9 in plus-minus category, because I have Matt Duchene, Mike Hoffman, Nick Leddy, Johnny Boychuk, and Anders Lee on my team. I mean, just to give you an example, the 5th goal by Jason Zucker of that Islander game, I got a -3 on that shift because Leddy and Boychuk were behind the net and Leddy wasn't on his guy. It's tough. So Leddy's kind of on my... Leddy all year has been... Are you kidding me? Every night, it's like, minus, -3, -2, -3, -2, I mean, it's like unbelievable, man. And then you're watching the games, and you're like, I could see why now. They're just not good defensively. So the Islanders, I'm saying.
From Tom Boosted, how long before the show goes off the rails and gets weird? It's never going to happen. From Ash,
it's already happened.
I know. From Ash, he asked about the a couple of questions that you've already answered, but she also says, love the podcast. I just want to say thank you to her for listening. From Nikolai, did you hear any interesting proposals that were linked to Minnesota or anything they may have been interested in, and how real was the Pacioretty? You already talked about Pacioretty.
Yeah, look, they were definitely talking to Montreal for a while on. Last year they were talking to him about Galchenyuk and Pacioretty. I just think that the fact that Mikey Riley was traded to Montreal means that, my guess is Mikey was going to be in a package if they can get it done, and then finally they just peeled it off because it wasn't going to get done. There was definitely something to be there. And again, I have a lot of sources in Montreal within that organization, and they were not just talking about Minnesota. They were talking to a lot of teams in the Central about a lot of guys on their team.
A lot more Twitter questions. Do want to thank Todd Moritz, Moritz of Sandvold Financial Group, SAND. V is in victory, OLD. You've seen their other advertisements. You've seen their billboards. I've dealt with Todd a lot, dealing with this podcast, going back and forth. It's a reputable company and a reputable guy. If you need any financial advice, I highly recommend Todd Moritz of Sandvold Financial Group.
Plan for tomorrow today. It sounds easy, but for many people it's not. The good news is, planning for your financial future isn't something you have to do all by yourself. Visit sandvoldfinancialgroup.com to request more information and ask for the tax-efficient insight of Todd Moritz, CPA.
Registered representative of and independent of Questar Capital Corporation. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Questar Asset Management.
Back to Twitter from Siggyvold. Do you think Fletcher had authority to make trades, or was he on a short leash?
No, I think he definitely had authority to make trades. I think I know that for a fact.
From Connor Wilcox, who do you think gets scratched for Tuesday night's game?
Olafson's scratched.
Okay, from Eric.
And Luke Hunnan, I reported today that he's going to be recalled. It will happen probably after 4 p.m. He'll be at the game tonight, sit in the press box, according to sources, and he'll be on the road trip tomorrow. And my guess is, since he's the second of 4 non-emergency call-ups the rest of the way, I think he's here the rest of the way. I'll try to talk to him in the press box tonight for a story tomorrow because they cancel practice, or most likely they're canceling practice on Wednesday before they fly to Arizona. But I'd love to know just what he thinks of his first professional season. It's a little shocking that he's 13th on that team in scoring and tied for 7th or 8th in goal scoring. I'll say that 19 points in 38 games. I'll see if I can talk to Brent tonight about it too. Flair.
Cool. From Generous Carriage, my favorite name on Twitter, is it fair to assume Mike is helping J.P. Rutherford through another infamous swoon? Mr. Rutherford is the longtime Blues beat writer who now works for The Athletic.
Yeah, Jeremy, I think is, if he didn't know there were wild swoons before, he certainly does, because Wild fans for the last 2-3 weeks have been informing him about swoons of yesteryear here in Minnesota.
From Eric Vigo,
can't coach victories if you don't get goaltending.
Did you, from Eric Vigo, did you hear Boudreau tell PA he wasn't sure Haula was okay with the Hansel acquisition last year and it affected his play in his team?
Yeah, I know. He said that to us yesterday too.
Okay.
I mean, that was the problem with that trade, is that it took Eric Haula and put him on the fourth line, and Eric is God love him, but he's a guy that can let negativity infiltrate his game, and he was playing well up until that trade, and then all of a sudden he was put in a fourth line role, and you put Ryan White on the team, and now all of a sudden Jordan Schrader's not playing and Grayovac's gone, and it definitely messed with the chemistry of the team from that standpoint.
From Hal Bouvet, do you believe that part of the stand pat attitude at the deadline was the belief that the Wild has a few key players that are still improving post injury?
Well, the problem is Nino's playing as bad as anybody
Right.
in this organization has ever seen him, and trust me, management's very, 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 very worried about him right now. I mean, he is in such a rut in every facet of his game. It is scary. And Parisi's not playing. Parisi is Parisi at this. I mean, it's very clear that this guy's not going to suddenly become Zach, at least the rest of this season. So I don't think that. I think that it's more so that if they open up spots for Greenway, open up spots for Cunnin, maybe at some point bring Kyle Rao back, that is what the reasoning was standing pat yesterday was. The second reason is all the assets that he has given up, Chuck, in his tenure, 11 draft picks, 4 seconds, 2 firsts, a couple thirds, 4th, 5th, 6th. And then the third reason is what I talked about at the top of the show, is I just don't think the rental market was anything at all that was, something that would lure you to make a interesting move, I mean, Kane, if you put him on this team, would he help? Would he be better than Ennis on a second-line role or better than Foligno on a third-line role? 100%. But they did not want him in that locker room. And that's as simple as, say what you want. First of all, Evander Kane has not been lighting it up this year. But there's a reason why nobody goes after him, because he has a reputation in this league of having off-ice issues. And the Wild didn't want to take that chance of putting him on this team. So it would have made more sense this year, and the price wasn't very expensive to me, because Ennis is such a non-factor on this team on almost every single night. So, but they had no interest in Kane. Kane was really the only rental that ever intrigued me, because he's a heck of a hockey player. He's 26. He's a freaking bulldog on the ice. I think he's going to be unbelievably motivated to play in the playoffs, as I think I've said on this podcast before. And he flies, and he's got skill. So I would have probably taken the risk, but I haven't done the background checks on him that all teams do before the trade deadline.
From Andrew Siljan, with Stewart now in Calgary and Cunnin likely being recalled soon, what forward or forwards are most likely in danger of being regular healthy
I think
scratches?
I could see a Foligno-Ennis rotation where, sometimes, against big physical teams, Foligno's in. Against faster teams where you need wheels, Ennis is in.
Rob Metcalf, is the Suter-Parise-Koivu Cup window closing, and do you think the Wild's next Cup window starts in 2020 with Kaprizov, JEE, Cunnin, Greenway, etc. as the core?
Well, theoretically, those two are going to be on the team.
Yeah.
So if their Cup window starts then, the Wild's, then it wouldn't close theirs, if that made sense.
They might overlap. That is true.
Exactly.
From Dan Waldron, realistically, how deep will the Wild need to go in the postseason for Fletcher to keep his job? Do you have any sense on that?
No, I think that this team's got to impress. Barely making the playoffs or a quick out, I think, does affect him.
From NH, how do they decide TV timeouts? Why do both penalty box doors need to be open during TV timeouts? It's more to let the referees get a drink and, a towel and things like that. The both penalty box doors, I assume. But TV timeouts are non-icings or non-goals after the 14-minute mark, 10-minute mark, and 6-minute mark. So if it's 5:55 left in the period, but it was an icing, they're going to wait till the next whistle. If it's a non-goal or an icing, so that type of thing. So, again, 6 minutes into a period, 10 minutes into a period, and 14 minutes into a period. From our friend Todd, he was wondering about deals that other teams are working on, like Carlson to Vegas, Nash to Columbus, any other possibilities. Still looking forward to the live show and the Russo Roast. We have to make those happen.
I think that it would have been very hard for Vegas or Ottawa to make that deal now, but you often set the table for future trades during conversations like this, and I bet you that Erik Karlsson will be traded this summer, most likely the draft. I think Vegas is probably the front runner to get him. They certainly have a pile of assets between draft picks, prospects, and young guys that are certainly on the team, like an Alex Tuck or people like that right now. And the other reason why it makes sense at the draft is that you get more teams involved. A Tampa Bay Lightning that wants to trade for Erik Karlsson can't give up half its roster if they want to go win a cup right now. So now all of a sudden this summer you revisit it and you have more teams potentially at your disposal to make trades with. So I think Erik Karlsson is definitely a goner.
A few more Twitter questions. I do want to say one more round of thank yous to twillmn.com, fixologyrepair.com, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, and Todd Sandvold Todd Moritz of Sandvold Financial Group. I'm so bad at this stuff. Todd, Moritz of Sandvold Financial Group. I'm sure Brandon will make me sound brilliant.
There's no editing wizard in the world that could fix that.
I was being sarcastic.
Yeah, poor Brandon.
So many people say that.
Yeah.
Why does everybody say that?
I don't know.
From Mike Swanger, who was or is your favorite coach to cover in a press conference and why? And your least favorite?
Oh, Jacques. Jacques was hilarious. I love Boudreaux.
Yeah.
Least favorite probably would have been, and it kills me to say this because, he was my favorite player growing up and a tremendous guy, and I'm still tight with him, is Dwayne Sutter. He just was dry. He was very much like Daryl.
Yeah.
And Mike Keenan was just talked in coach speak and circles and things like that. When Mike would get angry and want to rip on a player, then he was fun.
Yeah.
Todd Richards was pretty bland.
He was very bland. Yes, he was. From Jason Piant, what forward lineup would you consider if you had the current 12 forwards plus Cunnin and Greenway on the roster?
I would play Cunnin instead of Ennis, and I would play Greenway instead of Foligno and probably flip him. I'm going to be really intrigued to see what Jordan Greenway looks like right now on this team. I mean, he's raw. When he plays in World Juniors and Olympics and things like that, you see how good he is. But, BU, he hasn't been the greatest. But he is playing center there, which is just weird to me to think of a 6'5", 250-pound power forward playing center. It just doesn't seem like a center to me. And again, I mean, you're throwing him into a middle of race. That's the type of stuff that could upset the apple cart when all of a sudden an Ennis and a Foligno are out for some rookie that's coming out of college that is clearly not ready yet. So that was another reason why I think the Wild felt compelled that they had to get Cunnin here. Can you imagine if they didn't make the moves yesterday to trade Riley and Stewart? So they only had the cap space in 3-4 weeks to sign Jordan Greenway, but couldn't recall Cunnin until the playoffs like they did Scandella the first year they made it in this stretch of 5. And if you remember what I mean by that, is Scandella had a great second half, but the Wild had no cap space, so they couldn't call him up. So the second the playoffs start, the regular season ends, there's no cap anymore, so they brought up Scandella. It was starting to look that way if they didn't make any moves, that same thing could happen to Cunnin. Could you imagine if Cunnin's in the minors, after putting in all year in the minors, after being willing to leave college, and then he watches from afar Jordan Greenway, who is not nearly as developed professionally yet because he hasn't put any time in the A yet, is on the NHL roster and he's not. That's the type of stuff that, I think that the Wild felt like they've got to get Cunnin here. And that's why I think we're going to see him here in the next little bit. 2 more
Twitter questions. As usual, we didn't get to much of a percentage of those that were sent. We do appreciate you sending them in, but Michael talks a lot, so we can't get through many of them. From Zach Brown, are Ennis and Foligno pieces that can be moved this summer? I think they too could use a quote unquote fresh start. And the Wild could use a quote unquote cap space.
Yeah. I haven't done the math yet on an Ennis buyout, but I could see it. And Foligno, that contract doesn't look very good right now, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you could get in Arizona or Montreal or teams with a ton of cap space to take some bad contracts, I think that's the way to do it, or retain some salary. But Ennis and Foligno have definitely not been what the Wild had hoped they'd be.
Last question from Jeff. I live in St. Paul. Why do you hate me?
Funny. I finally have a last thought, and you don't ask it.
You have a last thought?
I do.
I didn't know you had any thoughts.
It's a dry last thought.
Let's have a dry last thought.
One thing, I was waiting for the Twitter questions, but they didn't come. So, but a lot of people have been asking me Kakkonen and Belpedio, 2 Wild prospects. What's going on with them? Kakkonen, if the Wild don't sign him by June 1, they lose his rights. Brent Flair and some other scouts are going to go watch him down the stretch here. It's going to be completely up to him. Frankly, if it were me and you're Kakkonen, I don't know why you don't sign with the Wild. It's not like there's a ton of depth that other teams have at the goaltending position in this organization. Michael Svedberg, who knows if they're the future. Their junior kid that they drafted last year, I think, has another year of junior eligibility. I don't even know what's going on with Stechka. If it's me and I'm Kakkonen, I sign here, but Brent will go and talk to him. And then Belpedio, again, 4 years at Miami. They've had a terrible year. He's the captain. 4 years at Miami, it's about to end. It then will be up to him on whether or not he wants to sign with this organization. He can become a free agent August 15th if he doesn't sign. It is going to be completely up to him. The Wild have a tremendous relationship with him. Bomber sees him all the time. Chuck Fletcher went up to Duluth last week to watch him and talk to him. But again, it's going to be up to him on whether or not he sees a future here in this organization. Again, if it were me and I were him, he's going to need a year in the minors. And I know that he doesn't want to be trapped behind Spurgeon and Dumba. But if it were me, I look at next year. If you sign with the Wild, all teams need guys on entry-level contracts and cheaper guys. Go play in the minors next year for the Wild. Have Prosser expire the last year of his contract. You have him on the right pair. And then in 2 years, all of a sudden, there could be a spot for Belpedio to play on this team on the third pair on a cheap contract. So if it were me, I see a door open if it's Belpedio, but it'll be completely up to him.
I'm so happy we didn't miss that final thought. That was a great final thought.
Could that be the worst ending final thought that has ever had, even on the times that I haven't thought of final thought?
I actually prefer it when
you had to be so excited when I finally had a final thought, and then I mentioned, you should have seen your face when I'm like, Kakinen.
Repeat that?
Kakinen. You were so disappointed when I actually brought up that this was not going to be like some great story.
Yeah, I was looking for like a Russo story. I was looking for you to embarrass yourself, and all you did was talk about Kakinen.
Yeah, no. I first of all, there's nothing that I could ever do to embarrass myself. Second of all, yeah, that's a good way to end the show, I think.
I think it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
There's something celebratory about Bubbles. Our ridiculous selection of champagne and sparkling wines will make the holidays pop.
Who couldn't use a friendly wine elf? I can help you find the perfect bottle at just the right price.
Deep frying a turkey this year? A rich and earthy Chateau Neuf de Pop would make an interesting pairing.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you this holiday. Now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!